Hi there and welcome to all my friends and family. So I'm shooting this video from Buenos Aires. It is the 19th of May and I wanted to share a presentation with all of you. I'm going to run you through a few things, and obviously this is only going to close friends and family, so I don't think there's any introduction necessary. Most of you know that I love starting businesses and making money. I've always been obsessed with finding ways to store the bottom line and then save that to secure my own financial future. And as such, I felt compelled to share this presentation with all of you. I don't want to be in a situation where in 10 years from now, a family or a friend, family member or a friend can say that they didn't know or they wish that someone had told them. So I thought that this would be an opportune moment for that. And I want you to share this journey with me so that you can protect your own friends and your own family and your own financial futures. So what am I on about? So right now we're on the cusp of some serious change in the world. We have a looming recession, as you can tell at the moment. We don't know when it's going to hit, but it's probably going to hit in the next 24 months, I think sooner rather than later. We've got AI and automation coming up that's going to cause a lot of disruption in jobs. The jobs that we thought were safe, we always thought that manual jobs would be replaced first, but it seems that knowledge workers are going to be the first ones that are going to be displaced. There's a lot of global uncertainty, politics, war, that type of thing. Specifically in South Africa, we've got a big electricity crisis on our hands, and then obviously the politics as well. The rand is drastically weakening, so I think that in 2008 we came relatively unscathed due to the Reserve Bank controls that we had, but those days are over. I think Nenegate proved that it's still open season on the Reserve Bank and for corruption in South Africa. And just to put that into perspective, I would say the last month, our rand is sitting above 19 to the dollar and above 24 to the pound. And to put that into perspective of how quickly this can go wrong. So in 2017, I'm shooting this from Buenos Aires, and in 2017, the peso was 14 to the dollar and the rand was 15. And today, right now in May, it's sitting at 465, right? It had devalued in the span of a month, went from 14 to close to 100. So we think a few rands here and there is fine, but the moment it goes to 25 to 30 to 40, very bad things happen. So yes, that's kind of setting the stage. So the solution, right? Like, why am I making this? So in 2008, a virus was released into the wild, and it's a virus that has slowly infected the world, mainly through greed and market forces. It's developed, and other people have also supported and developed it, and it's not been widely understood, except for maybe the last 5 or 6 years. Now, for the last 3 years, I've put in excess of 300 hours studying it. And smarter people than me have come to the conclusion that this is going to change the entire world, and the presentation will cover why that is. So what is this? It's called Bitcoin, right? Most of you have heard of it. I don't think there's anybody that is a stranger to it. I just don't think everybody has put in the time to understand it and to understand the implications of what's coming. So to understand this, I think we quickly have to look at a brief history of money and why this is important. So we're going to cover the properties of money, we're going to cover gold, and we're going to cover fiat, so that's paper money, or the money that we know today, rands, dollars, the original form of money, and then the detachment from the gold standard. And this part's going to be quick. So I'm not going to cover all of these in details. You can pause the video and just read these through. But I will also share the presentation with you so that you can download it, because there's links that you will be able to click and watch. So what makes money money, and why do we adopt something as money, and what are the characteristics that are needed in order for it to be adopted? So the first thing is a medium of an exchange. People need to be willing to exchange it, and it replaced the original barter system where people were trading apples for cows, right? And we wanted a fixed unit of measure that we can exchange. And the next one is a unit of account. It needs to be the thing that everything else is measured in. The next one is a store of value. And an example, fiat is not a good store of value. It loses its buying power over time, where something like gold is a better store of value. Divisibility, they need to be able to be divisible in smaller units like kilos and ounces for gold and rands and cents for fiat. The next one's portability. Very easy to move paper money and numbers on a screen. Not so easy to move gold. Durability. It must be able to not have wear and tear or disintegrate. That's why we don't use wheat as an example. Not anymore. Fungibility. That means that every unit needs to be the same. 1 ounce is the same as the next ounce, and 1 rand is the same as the other rand in someone else's pocket. And limited supply or scarcity. Now, the more scarce and limited supply, the more valuable the money is. That's why gold is more valuable than fiat. Okay, gold and fiat. So we've been using gold for thousands of years now, and it continued to be used up until the 19th century, but only then did it have global adoption, where a lot of countries started using it. And it was good because countries in the beginning could only print as much fiat as they had gold in their reserves, and slowly over time this deteriorated. And gold is the soundest form of money that we have before Bitcoin, because it was scarce, it's durable, it's divisible, and it's universal. Everyone accepts gold. Why is it more authentic, or why is it more sound than fiat? It stabilizes prices because it holds its value. It prevents governments from inflating the money supply, not anymore, but back in the day. And it forces them, sorry, to be more fiscally responsible. By contrast, fiat is only backed by a government's word, by their military, by their government, and the faith in their economy, right? Every single fiat currency on this planet has gone to zero. Every single one of them. And even the dollar will. It's just a question of when, not if. I'm not saying that the dollar will completely disappear, but it might be repegged. It might become a digital dollar, which is what's coming. And it's coming very soon. I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, we will have a digital dollar, just like we will have a digital euro and a pound before the dollar, and probably a Chinese digital yuan, which is already in the works now. It'll probably be released in the next few months, right? And that's going to replace the previous dollars, right? So it will be replaced eventually. Now, what is Bitcoin and why does it matter? It's got all the benefits of gold and fiat with none of the downsides. The only ingredient missing is history. It's important that the longer something is around, the more accepted it is. And gold has history, and that's why it's currently the most trusted money that we've had to date. But Bitcoin is an upgrade on some of the major hurdles of gold, which the first one is portability. You can actually move $1 billion or more over a border, right? You get on a plane, you've got nothing on you except some codes in your head or written on a piece of paper, but in your head, and you can cash out your $1 billion on the other side. Try moving $1 billion of gold, right? Like it costs about 20% in insurance and moving costs just to move that. So you're going to lose $200 million to move your billion. And if you were going to move it yourself, that's impossible. You cannot move $1 billion of gold yourself, right? So it solved that problem. But what few people appreciate is that you're actually moving that money, right? Physically. In the past with fiat, we're moving numbers on a screen. The numbers or the money doesn't actually move. We're actually moving digital energy through space and through time. Fiat solved the space problem. It's easy to move things from one location. Gold solved the time problem because it holds your value, but those two don't have both. But Bitcoin has both. You can quickly move it and it will store its value in the future. Now, the other one that it solves is inflation. So the fiat system has inflation built into it. About 2% is the goal. That's the equivalent of a government stealing 2% of your wealth every year. It's literally that. Gold also has inflation, but that's because new gold gets mined, and it's got 2%. That's the average that new gold comes onto the market, right? But Bitcoin is deflationary by design. It's built into its code. Every 4 years, the new supply that comes onto the market is cut in half. And at some point, which is around about 3 years ago, sorry, not 3 years ago, it's coming in the next halving, which is a year from now, the inflation rate of Bitcoin will be lower than gold. Okay, and I'll mention that again now. All right, another important thing is a mindset shift that's important. Bitcoin is not actually going up. Everything else is going down against Bitcoin. Now, it's important because this is what happens when we have superior technology. And the reason is it's scarcity. There is only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins in existence. Now, Bitcoin, like rands and cents, you get Bitcoin and you have its lower denomination, which is called Satoshis, which is named after the original founder, and they are just eloquently called sats, right? Now, there's only ever going to be 21 million of them. Let me put this into perspective. There are more than 21 million millionaires on this planet. If every single millionaire right now decided they want one Bitcoin, there's not enough to go around, right? That should put that into perspective. So if what I'm saying is true, then it's quite important to pay attention to this. Right now, there's only about 18 million in existence, and the last 3 million Bitcoin will be mined between now and the year 2140. Why? Is it gonna take that long just to mine 3 million if we already have 18 million? The reason is because of that halving every 4 years. The supply gets reduced, right? Now, imagine there were only 21 million homes in this world. What do you think those 21 million homes would be worth if we had to split them across 8 billion people? You could only give 21 million homes. So what would you trade for one of those homes, if you think about it? I think you'd trade quite a lot for it, right? And if you get a home, would you be willing to part with it, right? I don't think I would. And what if you could trade a very small percentage of it? The reason that number is so long is because the number of Satoshis in a Bitcoin is 100 million. And that's 8 decimals. So what if you could do that? Because you can do that with Bitcoin, right? You don't have to buy a Bitcoin. You can buy 1 Satoshi or 500 Satoshis or 800 Satoshis, whatever. So next one. Bitcoin is technology. It just happens to be used for money right now because we decided that it's a good way to store our wealth. But in the future, it will be used for a lot more. Things like national defense, truth, verification of documents, legal documents, and a lot of other things. Now, in 2024, next year in April, we will have our official inflation rate below gold at the next halving. And that's when the magic is really going to start happening with regards to the future price of Bitcoin. And in 2028, 2032, 2036, and so on, we're going to have more halvings, and the supply will continue to go down. And if you know anything about economics, when there is lower supply and still growing demand, that's when magic happens, right? And right now, for the last 7 years, the demand of Bitcoin has gone through the roof, okay? Now, the internet in 1990. Let's pretend the year is 1990 and I'm sending you this video about this technology called the internet. And I say to you, this is amazing. It's going to change the world. And you're skeptical. Obviously, a lot of people in 1990 were skeptical. But look where we are today. But I want to put it to you in this perspective. Let's take Amazon and Bitcoin. You couldn't invest in the internet itself in 1990. You could only invest in companies that were developing technology on the internet, like Amazon, Google, those types of guys, right? Now, Bitcoin is not like investing in Amazon. Bitcoin is investing in the internet. Just imagine what a portion of the internet would be worth, right? If you imagine what Amazon is worth. Now, you didn't have this opportunity in 1997, but now you have. But let's just look at what would have actually happened if you put $1,000 in 1997 when they launched in Amazon stock, right? That $1,000 would be worth 2.3 million US dollars today. That is incredible growth, right? In a very short period of time, 23 years, right? Is that right? 24 years. That is an incredible amount of money. So that is the opportunity before us, except the opportunity is much, much bigger because you will be able to own a part of the future internet and monetary network of the world, okay? Now, it's not too late. Those in 2009 that adopted Bitcoin, that were smart enough, that were willing to put their money and their time into understanding the technology, and don't get me wrong, there's a saying in Bitcoin, come for the greed and stay for the revolution. Those boys are much luckier than us, but we are still in our infancy of global adoption. I would say it's the argument if I asked anyone, are we finished with the internet? Is it done? Of course not. It's still growing, and it's going to grow quite a lot, right? And that's the same thing that's going to happen to Bitcoin. We still have a long way to go. We're having a 10, 20, 50, 100-year discussion. This video is for you and for your kids and for your grandkids, right? That is the importance of this. So yes, imagine, sorry, I'm a little bit sick at the moment. Imagine owning a percentage of the web, right? Now, one of the most famous criticisms is that it's bad for the environment, right? That it's using too much energy, it's pumping out greenhouse gases, by the way, which is not true. Bitcoin mining doesn't pump out any greenhouse gases. They're actually referring to the power plants because they're using too much electricity, but that's not true, right? So let's quickly look at this. Right now, the following items or industries in the US, not the world, just in the United States of America, is using the following amounts of power. All the ATMs in the US use 4 times more than Bitcoin's global usage. That is a big number, right? The gaming consoles, your PlayStation, your Xbox, they use the same as Bitcoin. Christmas lights in December use more energy than Bitcoin globally. So are we going to switch these things off too, right? I have another stat here that says the washing machines and the dryers in the world use more energy than Bitcoin. Way more, by the way. So all of these things have uses. And the question is whether these things are worth the energy cost. Now, I'd say, and many other people say, that storing currently at today's valuation, 500 billion US dollars of the world's wealth is quite a good spend of energy, right? Protected energy by code, unhackable, unattackable, cannot shut it down. They've tried hundreds of times. Governments, hackers, other bad actors, nobody, the network has not even gone offline for a single second. That's very important. If you think of Visa and MasterCard, they've been out a few times. So, what happens when we get to the $10 trillion mark? Right now, gold's value or world value is $10 trillion. And most people are of the agreement that it will absorb at least half of that, right? And a lot of asset classes in the world. But let's just pretend it goes to $10 trillion value, which we think it will be much higher than that. But that's, yeah, I would say that's a very important thing. And I think it's worth the energy spend. And mining technology is becoming more efficient, and they always use surplus energy. They're not stealing from the grid somehow. They're usually using dead energy because the energy network that we've built is not a battery. You can't store it. You have to match supply and demand at all times. And when demand doesn't match or is lower than supply, that energy is wasted. They don't have batteries to store it, most places anyway. And that's where Bitcoin mining and fair energy use and mainly clean energy are feeding off of each other. And there's a video that I've put in here that you can go watch because he explains it much more eloquently than I can. Now, the risks. Bitcoin volatility. You've seen it. It goes from $10 to $20,000, then back down to $1,000, up to $70,000, back down to $20,000. It is volatile. That's the nature of this crazy type of technology. Amazon lost 80% of its value in the dot-com crash. And look what still happened to its price, right? That's the nature of the beast. Usually the winners have a very rocky road to get where they need to be. The next risk is losing your keys. You are the custodian of your Bitcoin, so you need to take responsibility for this and you need to self-custody your assets. You are your own bank from now on. You can trust an exchange, but there's a saying, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. If they hold your keys and they get hacked or they liquidate themselves, your Bitcoin's gone. It's important that you keep your own keys. Now, always store them in multiple places. The full key, never store it digitally. If you are going to store it digitally, then I would cut it in 2 or 3 parts. I would store 2 parts in digital places, and then I would store the third part offline. You can obviously get devices to store it as well. That's much safer. But in the South African market, they're quite hard to come by. The final risk is a black swan event. Now, a big part of humility and risk management is acknowledging that there are things that can happen that we don't know anything about. But that's the nature of the game. That can happen to anything. There's something that can wipe out the entire financial system. There are wars that can happen, and I'm not saying that will affect Bitcoin. I'm just saying there are serious things that we do not know that will happen, that will disrupt our lives and that will disrupt the world. But the known threats right now to Bitcoin, like regulation and stuff like that, they are not a threat, right? But there are things that could wipe it off the face of the earth. There's an example like an EMP attack, which is an electronic attack, that could literally take out all the Bitcoin miners and the whole system. But that would take out every other single computer on the planet too. So I think that would be the least of our problems, right? So it would wipe out quite a lot with it. But can't rule it out, right? Now, my proposal to you. Let me just move my face. It doesn't seem it wants to move. So I would buy a minimum amount. All I'm asking you is to get off zero, right? Because if I'm right and everything else is going down in equivalent to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is not actually going up. And if that game continues, then you would be smart to hold Bitcoin, right? Now, I would consider a minimum amount of Bitcoin to be 2,200 Rand. Anything more, go for it. I'm doing a lot more. But the reality is 2,200 Rand, I would consider that a smart move. That's the equivalent of about $110. But that's what I would buy immediately if you have it. And I would consider saving in it, right? It's the best inflation hedge we've had. If you go and look at the returns of a Bitcoin over the last 14 years, you will be shocked. Now, educate yourself. I want you to go and learn about this technology. Don't take my word for it. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to start the discussion, and I'm here to plant a seed in you to understand that this is very important. Spend 10 to 15 hours over the next 3 months or 6 months to learn about this technology. Ask yourself questions. Ask yourself, why are companies like MicroStrategy moving $4 billion US from their treasury into Bitcoin? And their average acquisition price is higher than the current price of Bitcoin. Why would a company do something like that? You have to ask those types of questions. What are you missing? Why would they make a move like that? Decide for yourself then how much of your wealth you want to allocate. I personally decided to adopt MicroStrategy's investment strategy to move most of my wealth into that as a treasury asset and only keep enough money for 12 or maybe more months on hand to cover living costs. Every other thing is going into Bitcoin. That's not entirely true, right? Most of you that know me, I like real estate. We still do that. I still have money in the stock market. I still have retirement accounts. I'm not saying you should ignore those things, but to be honest, the stock market is going to take a beating over the next decade. So if you go and look at what happened after the dot-com crash, the NASDAQ took, I think, 13 years to recover to its previous high. And I think we're in for that same problem. The last 10 years was amazing. We had amazing returns, and I benefited from those returns, but those days are over for quite some time. Okay. Now, the next one. Decide for yourself how much you want to allocate. Real estate is still good, but not with your own money, and certainly not in ZAR, right? With your own money. If it has to be your money, then go do it in a US dollar asset. Go buy yourself a home in the United States if you can do that. Put in the time to make that happen, but don't do it in South Africa. If what I have predicted what's going to happen with the exchange rate and all the other lovely things there, then it's time to divest your wealth. You're welcome to still live there. I love the country. I'm going to move back there and I want to enjoy it for as long as it lasts. But I don't want to keep my money there. So use as much of the bank's money as you can to buy your properties. Because if the country goes to hell in a handbag, then their debt will also go to hell. Now, stomach the volatility for Bitcoin. So you only lose if you cash out low. So do not sell. Just sell high. Just wait for the market to go back up. Just hold and wait. Math is on your side. So keep enough fiat, enough money, to not get into the position where you need to sell. Okay, terms and conditions. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm not asking you to put some money in Bitcoin, and because what's going to happen after the next halving, about a year to 18 months after the halving is when you're going to see that nice pop in Bitcoin's price. I'm not asking you to put your money there so that you can benefit from that. If you want to put in a lot of money this and you want to sell some of it at that point, then be my guest. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about protecting your wealth and for keeping your Bitcoin for the next 10, 20 years. That's it. This is to protect your family and your own purchasing power and wealth. Okay. A smart allocation, which most credible investment advisors, and you can go Google this, advise their clients to put 1 to 5% of their net worth in Bitcoin. I'm going a bit more aggressive. Everyone needs to decide for themselves. Spread the word, tell your friends and family, but don't advertise to strangers that you own Bitcoin. It's always a security risk. The next one, why am I doing this? I'm not asking you to give me money or to invest in me or my businesses. I want nothing from you. I'm simply asking you to go educate yourself and to draw your own conclusions. My only intention is not to see friends and family caught off guard when this tech combined with economic instability is going to take off. Okay. And if you go watch this video, he sums it up a lot better than I do. The next thing is resources. So there's a nice Bitcoin course. It's about 12 hours long. If you don't want to make the time for that, then do just the first 2 modules. It's about 5 hours. That covers it in painstaking good detail with video and text. And it's really, really good. It will teach you a lot about the history of money. It will show you why Bitcoin is superior and also what the future of Bitcoin looks like. And then there are some videos here. I would suggest go and watch these videos first. These 4 in the top, go watch them. That's probably 4 hours of video, and there's one at the end as well. And then there's this guy, Matthew Cratter. He's got a really good channel as well. And you can go look at him. He's really good. His videos are about 15 minutes long each. So maybe go watch his last 10 videos and then watch his videos when it comes out. He's an extremely knowledgeable guy. And he's a wealth manager. He was always stock market investing and trading, and he has now fully gone the Bitcoin route. But he's a really educated gentleman, and he's very forward looking. Okay. So getting started, if you want to pursue this, so here are the steps that you as a South African, I haven't catered for anywhere else in this presentation. Go to Luno. That's the easiest way for us to buy. Use that link of mine on the Luno app. They always have this thing of refer your friends. And if you buy some Bitcoin, we both get 200 Rand free. Lekker. Store your crypto off of Luno or any other exchange. Do not leave your Bitcoin on Luno. Transfer your Rands in there and do a direct transfer. Then you have lower fees. And then transfer that Bitcoin immediately out. And the best way to do that is go and install an app called Exodus. You get it both for Android and iOS. And that is the best way. It's not the safest way. It's very safe, by the way, and I use it. But the best way is cold storage. Cold storage is a little device that you buy that looks like a USB drive or a small cell phone. That is the safest way. But to be honest, there's not a really safe way to buy one in South Africa. You shouldn't buy one on Takealot. You should never buy one secondhand because those things can be corrupted. And if you transfer your money in there, it will automatically transfer it out to someone else's account. So do not fall for that. If you are going to buy one, then buy one from the States or somewhere and make sure it comes directly from the manufacturer. Okay. I have one of those cold storage wallets. I also have a lot of money on hot storage, so it's not unsafe. But the reason it's unsafer is because a hot wallet is connected to the internet and a cold wallet is not. So it just reduces the risk. Okay. So always transfer your crypto off of Luno or any other exchange. And then if you want to sell it, transfer it back to Luno and then sell it. Okay. And yes, there's a button on Luno that says, I want to send Bitcoin. It's going to ask you, where do you want to send it? And then you paste the address from your Exodus Bitcoin wallet. You say, I want to receive Bitcoin on Exodus. And you say, and it will give you a code or a link. And you copy that link, you paste it on Luno, and there you go. It takes about 10 minutes for it actually to move. But the process takes 5 seconds. Okay. Buy any time. You can buy crypto at any time, but only send from Luno to Exodus over the weekends. Right now, the fees on the Bitcoin network are very high. I'm not going to go into the reason why that is. But on weekends, they are, because there's less demand, they are much lower. Okay. And those fees will go down again over time. There's just something stupid going on that it's higher right now. But anyway, investment strategies. There's 2 ways to invest in Bitcoin and in anything for that matter, is dollar cost averaging and bulk investing. Dollar cost averaging means you put a little bit of money in each month. That's the same way as putting money in the stock market, ETFs, your pension, your RA, right? You put a little bit of a percentage of your income each month into a savings account. You need to decide what percentage of your money you want to go invest in Bitcoin, okay? And I must just make something very clear. I only support Bitcoin. I don't support any other crypto. So don't be mistaken that I'm endorsing crypto. I'm only endorsing Bitcoin. So please decide which percentage you want to do once you've come to the conclusion that this is a good idea and you've done your homework. The next one is bulk investing. That's like, okay, I have 100,000 Rand, I'm just going to buy, right? that is called bulk investing. You're putting a bulk in as opposed to every month, even though you can put bulk in now and then still every month, whatever you want to save, you save, right? Same way as you would have put it in the bank or in the stock market. But if you're going to do bulk investing right now, the 19th of May, is not the best time to buy Bitcoin. Okay, the price is too high. I think it's going to go down. A lot of people think it will still go down to $8,000 or $12,000. I think 15 to 20 is more likely. But regardless, I could be wrong. Everyone could be wrong. So you must decide where you are comfortable. I'm still buying Bitcoin. I've bought Bitcoin in the last month at the high prices, right? I just told you MicroStrategy bought higher than what the current price is. There are reasons for these things. So just decide where you are comfortable. I personally am sitting on cash for the moment for the next few months. And once that price drops, if it drops to 8 or 12K, I would be very, very happy. If it drops to 15 or 20, I'm still happy. I will just deploy my money then. So I still dollar cost average every month, but the bulk will come later. And that is it. So let me make myself a little bit bigger. Thank you for your time. Go and read up on these things. Go educate yourself. And if you come to the honest conclusion that you don't agree with me, I'm more than happy. I just do not want you to come 10 years from now or 15 years from now saying I didn't know, or I wish someone had told me, or I wish I had taken the time. So please take the time. You are welcome to come to a different conclusion than me and not agree with me. But I do want you to take the time because this is very, very important. Okay, sending you guys a big hug, and I'll see you all soon.